Good evening and welcome to
News Before You Knew It.
I'm Brenna Gilgy and this is my co-anchor Katrina Zunick. We'll start our broadcast today by informing you more about the still hanging Iron Curtain over Europe. Later this morning we will cover the forever rising communism in China. We'll also cover the Korean and Vietnam Wars.
Now over to you, Sebastian.
Hi, I'm Sebastian Schrader, bringing you news on the Cold War tension. On March 5th, 1946, Winston Churchill announced that as he called it, the Iron Curtain of communism has spread across Europe. As a result of this started a Western and Eastern conflict, but not yet a bloody war. This starts a race. This is a space race. The USSR launched a dog into space and also launched the first man into space. Although in 1969, the U.S. had launched the first man to land on the moon. So who really won the war? Who really won the race? You decide. Frozen. Yeah.
You're right, just hang tight.
This is a very big part of the Cold War, but not yet it's becoming more dangerous for people on both sides of the world. For more than 40 years, the USSR was in a major conflict with the West. The problem was that mostly with the fact that the United States were building nuclear weapons, and the USSR were building many nuclear weapons also. It is an arms race for these two countries now under great tension for who is going to have the most nuclear bombs at the end of it. A great war could start at any moment. The United States built a top-of-the-line spy plane. They thought it would fly high enough that the USSR could not shoot it down. During one of the spy missions, the Russians shot the U-2 spy plane down, and the United States was forced to admit full responsibility. The president refused to give an apology, along with the USSR hating the United States. They partnered up with Fidel Castro, a leader in Cuba. With all this, Fidel and Khrushchev's partnership, they built a sight of missiles aimed straight for the United States. In result of this, the United States president sent and trained a battalion of Cuban soldiers to overthrow Castro. In all the midst of this, while they shipped the soldiers to the Bay of Pigs in Cuba, they were getting slaughtered for 3 days thinking the U.S. would succeed, but it failed. The whole mission was meant to look like an inside job, but it failed, and some people say in result of this, JFK got assassinated for the Bay of Pigs. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you, Sebastian. Next up, we'll report on the still rising communism in China.
Under their leader, Mao Zedong, communism is rising in China. Mao is winning the peasants' loyalty and is starting to control much of northern China. While Mao is controlling northern China, the nationalist leader, Chiang Kai-shek, is controlling much of southern China. The United States has recently sent at least $1.5 billion in aid to help them fight the Japanese. Although the communist and national forces are fighting together against Japan, tensions are rising, and both social parties are preparing to fight against each other. Mao Zedong has encouraged millions of high school and college students to, as he said, learn revolution by making revolution. Red Guards are students who carry out Mao's plan for revolution, culture revolution, that is. His goal is to establish a society in which both peasants and workers are created equal. We have just been giving breaking news. In Tiananmen Square, Beijing, millions of peaceful protesters have been attacked by armed forces. Tanks are being sent in, demolishing everything in sight. We will keep you updated about it for the next few days.
Thank you, Brenna. Now we're going to go to a commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
I bring to you the all-new retractable cane. It collapses into small by pieces that you just pull it apart, and it collapses into pocket-size and mobility cane. It's easy when you're going out to eat or going to have some fun with your grandkids. It has various size components from 6 different size components. You just push the little button in, push it up or down into whatever size you want, and then you can just walk. It's got a cane so you can put your hand like this. So you don't have to hold your hand and possibly fall down. They'll stand by itself. You hold it like this. You won't have to tip over on you. It's got all new rubber thing. If this wears out, you can call your retailer and they'll give you a brand new one. It just screws on and off. Should anyways. You buy it at CVS for only $19.95 plus tax, or you can order online for $18.95 plus tax and shipping. Thank you very much.
I'm Brenna Gilgee,
And I'm Katrina Zunick.
and we're back with News Before You Knew It. We are now going to our reporter, Sarah Keller, who is broadcasting live in South Korea.
Over to you, Sarah.
Hello, I'm here in front of the DMZ, which is one of the most militarized borders in the world. This is because of the tensions between North and South Korea. This started after World War II when Korea was divided at the 38th parallel line of latitude. North Korea became communist with support from the Soviets, and South Korea became democratic with the support from the United States. North Korea was not pleased with becoming two different types of government, so they attacked the South. The South pleaded to the United Nations for help, and the United Nations sent in troops under the control of Douglas MacArthur. North Korea overtook the capital of South Korea, Seoul, and Douglas MacArthur wanted to start a nuclear warfare. President Truman thought this was a bad idea, though, because he thought it would break out in another world war. So he fired Douglas MacArthur. Today, South Korea has prospered with help from the United States, and North Korea has a poor economy. And there are so many American soldiers in South Korea because of the nuclear war threat. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Sarah. Our last news story for today will be brought to you by my co-anchor, Katrina Zunick. Over to you, Katrina.
During this special episode of News Before You Knew It, we showed you a little insiders on all the wars. We all know that war is bad, but one of the most famous wars of all has some secrets not everyone knows about. It is now time to take you into a little bit of the Vietnam War. The leader of Vietnam was the one and only Ho Chi Minh. He led the Vietnam from onward, establishing the Communist-ruled Democratic Republic of Vietnam in the year 1941. He officially stepped down from power in 1955 due to health problems, but remained a highly visible figurehead and inspiration for those Vietnams fighting for his cause, a united communist Vietnam until his death. Once he would die, who would be in power next? But before Ho Chi Minh would leave this cold world, he would come up with a bunch of ideas to take over. The Gulf of Tonkin Resolution was started on August 7th in 1964 by the United States. It gave broad congressional approval for the expansion of the Vietnam War. The plan was set out during the spring. They wanted to pursue the war more aggressively, but would that really help us? After doing this, the United States had started to question what they were doing over the war, and if they were helping the Vietnam people. They questioned if the United States was needed over to help. The main reason for the United States to be over there fighting was to repel communists from the north. But was that really helping? Were we really helping, or were we making it worse? During the Vietnam War, they had a lot of crazy tactics they used in the war. One of the major things they had was the Tet Offensive. It was a military campaign during the Vietnam against the South. It was launched on January 30th, 1968 by the forces of the Viet Cong and the North Vietnam against the South and the United States. It was a campaign of surprise attacks that were launched against the military and civilian command and control systems. Now back to you, Brenna.
Unfortunately, we are all out of time. Until next time, we will see you back here tomorrow covering more News Before You Knew It.